In this vlog, I want to show you guys about what I do when I'm not shooting, which is equally important because it leads to those shoot days. And also, the C70 is up for grabs. If anybody wants it, I'm selling it along with a bunch of accessories, fully ready to go for someone who's looking for a fantastic C70 kit. And which means I'll probably be getting a small Sony with this money and using that as a matching B cam. I'm transferring some footage and doing some email admin at the same time. This inquiry just came in via my network. So this is a production company. I have no clue who they are, but they were referred to me by James Gilbert. He's an amazing photographer. I showed him in vlog 24 when I was working on that docuseries, and they asked him for someone to do corporate work. He recommended me. And it's pretty easy. 2.5 days of work. Seems like a great job. New client, new network, fantastic. But I'm already booked, so I can't do it. So instead of just saying no, I'm gonna hand this off to my buddy who lives in Miami. He's a fantastic DP and works with some amazing clients and does work like this as well. So James referred me. I couldn't do it, so now I'm making a reference. Eventually, we will get this production company to get the person that they need, and it will most likely stay within the network. So now I feel like I owe James another referral because he's throwing my name in. And actually, I'm giving this referral to Joe because he threw my name in last week for something. It ended up not happening, but that is the mutual relationship when you have a strong network. I could have just said, I'm busy, sorry, hope you can find someone else. But if you do it this way, the long play, it helps everyone. You know, rising tide raises all ships. That's the mentality that I think is most successful for being a freelancer. Also, you see that part where it says we checked your website? It is extremely crucial to have a legit website that these big companies can look into, because a lot of times they look at your work before they even send this email. So you need to have some type of legitimate website separate from your social media that they can see, okay, this guy has a real standing in this type of industry. As a freelancer, I definitely don't work Monday through Friday. So I've been looking at different ways to diversify my income. Most notably, the first one is YouTube. It took me 6 months and now I'm able to monetize this channel. In the first month, I made 50 bucks. So, you know, that's cool. And then I found out you need to make 100 in order for YouTube to actually send you the first check. Second is I do consultation calls for videographers who are looking for advice on maybe new gear to purchase or freelancing in general, or specific questions about getting hired for projects or getting into new clientele. And similar to sharing my knowledge in a consultation call, this is going to be hands-on. And he is building a home studio, and he is just asking me for advice on lighting, and he has all the equipment, he just doesn't know how to put it together and make it look good. We got our little home studio. These are becoming more and more popular as people are creating their own content. So you can see we got ring lights, we got soft boxes, we got small little cameras, and this is what he was originally working with. This is what he designed by himself, and if you're giving financial advice, in my opinion, you need a stronger look, right? So he sent me this video, and this is what he wanted to mimic. So I said, that's no problem. You got a bunch of stuff. I think we can put something together that's close to looking like this. So when you're lighting, first thing you do is you turn everything off. So you can see on the top left, there is a soft box, and I put a black bed sheet around that. He does have a skirt somewhere, but for now, I just needed to show him what it was like when you cut off all the spill of the light from the walls. And here he's just using an EOS M50. I told him to prioritize his audio and lighting, and the camera isn't as important. So we're putting the palm tree in the back, putting a light behind it, and curtains over all the windows.
Oh, it's for the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
Yo, we out here.
No, this looks great. That looks really
book a call with David. Make sure to book a call because this is totally worth the money. Look at the difference. This was me trying to figure this out, and we're not even done. So like now I look like I'm a YouTuber. Here I look like I don't know what I'm doing. So
That is great. That looks really good.
Welcome to my channel where I talk about everything related to personal finance and business.
And after about an hour, this is the final look. So we took out that green RGB stick that was in the frame and pointed it backwards. So now we have a nice splash green to go with the money, the finance theme. We have a little bit of dappling through the palm trees, and overall a nice clean image. And he seemed to be very happy with it, and so was I. Quick escape to the cafe to do some editing work that I've been procrastinating. It's not even hard. It's simple interview with B-roll. And I've had a lot of people hear me complain about editing and offer to take up the edits, but it's such an easy task that I would be paying more than it's worth to do it. And you might recognize this from a previous vlog. This was, I think, the first shoot of the year that I did. And I went around the county, got the B-roll from the drone, and that was it. Simple edit, done. Okay, got an immediate response. The client likes the edit, so that's good. Only one more deliverable for that project. And then this is from the 12-day time-lapse project that I did a couple vlogs ago. It's been a few months, but they finally sent the wire transfer through, and it was a very, very large transfer. It's in my bank account. It's all good, so now they get their media. This podcast randomly popped up onto my feed, but they very eloquently describe why so many people are moving from Canon to Sony.
There's convenience and less compromises with that whole system, and that's been my struggle with Canon for video. It's like, okay, so you want a real video camera, like you go get the C70. Okay, it's a crop sensor, but it has an RF. But maybe we'll use a speed booster and we'll use older EF lenses. But then we're gonna pair it with what? An R5, which doesn't shoot in C-Log 2. It just goes on and on with these things. And if you work into the Sony system, all their cameras match pretty well, pretty close. They are all full frame. They all use the same lenses, and they're just convenient.
With Canon, I feel like I've got a bunch of boxes, like a bunch of options, and I'm going, okay, if I want full frame, then I've got to have the R5C. But then now that means like I've got to rig this thing with battery power because it sucks through battery power. I don't want to do that. I need really good battery power. Okay, well then I can get the C70. Okay, this is massive, but now it's Super 35. So which lenses do I take to make up for that? And I'm like, holy crap, like decision fatigue.
These guys hit the nail on the head. Sony just provides less resistance to do what you want. There's not as much segmentation of features between products. So I saw this podcast and I thought it was amazing. It's called 16 Stops, and they have a ton of information. They're each successful YouTubers on their own. So if you guys want to check them out, I highly recommend doing it. But this long form discussion on Canon versus Sony is very informative, and I feel like is expressing a lot of the views of current Canon owners who are switching. I love being in downtown, and if I run out of coffee, I can just walk down to the corner store. Being in Orlando, we have a bunch of Latin espresso ground coffee that's really good, but I think today we're gonna go with some Italian Lavazza coffee. A little more expensive, but it's really, really good. But I was building a proposal for a job that included basically a narrative, so 6 people talking, performing a skit, and I would need a sound guy for that. So I hit up a guy that I met from Art of Documentary, Dan Abruzzi, I hope I'm saying that right, and he let me know the details of what type of sound gear and expertise level you need to cover that type of thing. So that type of resource of just having your network with people who can, they don't even have to work for you, but as long as you guys can share information, it can be so valuable, because now I know I actually am not going to take this job. I'm going to pass on it. Once I got a more informed view of the scope of work for this type of project, I realized I didn't have the bandwidth to see it through, to be essentially the director and hire all the crew and the producer. So I'm gonna skip on this one, and I'm gonna hand it off to someone that I met in the Orlando Filmmaker Breakfast that I started. This is the longest part of editing. I have an hour-and-a-half interview that I need to chop down into a 5-minute piece with B-roll. So I'm starting to get my way going, but I'm gonna go to a coffee shop and hopefully get in a more dedicated mental space to work. So I've had a request to show you guys the videos that I edit, and normally someone else edits them. In this case, for the auto documentary, I'm producing and editing this piece, so there will be a link at some point where you guys can check it out. But for right now, we're just getting the audio. You can see we had an FX6 and an A7 III, which doesn't have 10-bit, but we still shot an S-Log, so that's gonna be a little hard to match, but it is a very nice second angle and I wanna use it, so we'll figure out how to color grade it. So it's like 10 hours later and I got a large chunk of editing done. I hate editing. I'm decent at it. I'm definitely not a technical editor, but I can do storylines and, you know, documentaries pretty well, I would say. And I need to sometimes just go into a cafe, that way I can hone in on working, because I get so distracted by my phone when I'm home. But that was a lot of editing that needed to happen ASAP, and I'm glad I got it done, because I'm just trying to get all these editing projects off my plate and stick to shooting. So I didn't know how it was going to be matching the A7 III to FX6 footage. This is the A7 III angle, because A7 III can only do 8-bit. So let's just start with adding the S-Log 3 LUT, and you can see the saturation has gone crazy. This is what the FX6 looks like with the Rec 709 LUT, so massive difference. So if we do that and then start down the color grading workflow, you can see we get a little contrast, do some color curves, and then manipulate some individual colors. It's actually not too bad, which I'm happy with. That looks good. That'll match.